reports, observation in some learning sessions, documents from the archives of what they've written and done, photos, videos, and then jot down notes, took summary of general trends. Okay, people I have access to were 53, both men and women. You have indigenous, Muslims, and Christian, and people who do not identify their religions. And then this paper aims to aim to use a grounded theory, so classified general trends that emerge, see the relationship between them, and create the story around it, and come up with a model at the end. Okay, so three major findings. You have one, what are the historical sources of the problems? Two, to which the popular educators respond and therefore have to learn how to respond to these. And three, so what do they do? Okay, first one, there are three major historical trends in the Philippines with problems which will continue to the present. Pre-colonial slavery, there are remnants of unequal relationship due to status in society. Secondly, colonial period, feudalism, landlordism was developed on a massive scale. So you have big landed estates owned by a few, majority poor peasants. Corruption started during colonialism, both Spanish and American. We learned them from our colonial masters. And lastly, the post-colonial period, foreign domination continues, semi-colonialism and feudalism. Now, so education can go in different areas. Informal, in social movement, non-formal, short courses, formal, in regular degrees. Some of the people I interviewed developed courses on peace and human rights themselves and taught them. Knowledge base that they need, the skills that they need, human rights, advocacy, paralegal, public speaking, arts. And then what do they do? These are some of the major trends. Some do relief work when there's armed conflict, there's flood, there's typhoon. Welfare, give notebooks and pen and shoes and books and food to the poor, and toothpaste and soap. Development work, income generating projects like peanut production, peanut based products, and bracelets and so on. And advocacy, women's rights, human rights, interfaith dialogue, and so on. So there are stages of how deep is your commitment. So this is more higher stage of development. The lower stages, I'm enlightened. I read a book, I watched a movie. I know racism is bad. You've done something. Second stage, well, you heard someone said discriminatory remarks against another. You stood up for that person. Excuse me, that's uncalled for, that's hate crime. And thirdly, you are actually engaged in interfaith dialogue. Fourth, you actually get involved in the community, live with them, eat with them, and play with them. Fifth would be organizations coming together, like, okay, it's fine, we're having kumbaya, playing together. Let's now work together in our organizations. And highest level, doing social justice together, okay, bringing about social change. So social actors can be grassroots level, mid-level, which would be academics and non-governmental organizations, and then high-level governments and rebels. So this is the end, the model that I have developed in grounded theory. So you have certain elements. This is a static one. It has to move. So social movement is at the middle. You have one, you have to look at the historical and social context. One, as the starting point in doing peace and human rights work. There's such a thing as human rights education and human rights-based education. The difference is human rights-based education, you might not even use the word human rights. You might use the word multiculturalism, diversity, gender equality, everything else but human rights. But the substance is human rights. Then the second one would be how the state interacts with civil society. If there's conflict, then certain things come in. there's need for popular educators to get involved, to intervene in society. And then third, you have the skills. You have to know how to do mediation, negotiation, arbitration. Those are skills you can learn in a classroom setting. And then values. It's not value-free. This is value-laden research. Human rights, social justice, equality, and peace are at the core of human rights and peace work. And then you have to get your hands wet, as Jean-Paul said. So go out and do something. Advocacy, relief work, development work, environment work, whatever pleases you, which will bring about peace in one way or another. So the drawing is not straight line or enumerated. It's interactive because in reality, people will do things back and forth. You can go back and forth. And then why is it spiral? Because the curriculum changes, society changes, historical movement changes, and new skills will be learned and taught. So, and then we go to another stage of historical development. It's not clean cut. There's regression and there's progress and maybe stagnation. That's why it's in the form of spiral. Conclusion, context matters. So, and two, without social action, it's hard to have social change. And it's a whole process looking at historical reality. Popular educators have to learn skills, do something, social action, so that there will be social change. Questions to be raised. Who benefits every time we say there's development project, for example, and at whose expense? So there's challenging of the dominant structure. Then there are different ways by which this can be done. And very importantly, this research says ordinary people matter. You don't need high-level officials. People at the grassroots level matter. So what? So this paper is saying we cannot just deal with abstraction. We have to deal with social reality first, inductive. Secondly, well, this paper dealt with armed conflict. Most papers on human rights and peace are in classroom settings, not conflict situation. Third, there are many ways to fight against injustice, not just one way, based on the data I got from research participants. And this is not a look at the state, but at civil society, a different point of view, and critiquing power and justice, and creating a model at the end. So, what do we do now? Well, for policy, government cannot just say, we now have a declaration of peace, therefore we have peace. No. You have to work for justice and human rights. So many different things, economic, social, cultural, civil, and political. Gender, environment, development. It's not just a matter of saying we have a declaration of peace and everything's okay. Two, government needs to allocate resources, but not dictate the agenda of popular educators. Okay? There are different roles that they play. And now, for further research, this paper looked at civil society. Other papers can look at the role of the state. And combatants, since there are rebel groups in the Philippines, from the communists to the Muslim Filipinos, to indigenous Filipinos. And then micro-narrative, this looks at both this paper looks at both, not both, at interpersonal, personal, and then at the organizational, and then also at the state level. Others can look at the micro level, okay, or quantitative. Does gender matter in bringing about social change? Does religion matter? So the independent variables, or does ethnicity matter? And then also, does human rights education matter? Does it bring about change? So some other research agenda can come from this. Thank you.